So our spiritual maturity is right now stronger and deeper than where we were in 2014 when we had a strong church family around us. I can give you an example of how the Lord has equipped us, especially in the area of spiritual warfare, intercession. The Lord has been using me a lot in the area of intercession. He's put me on the intercessory assignment for international matters for this season. And sometimes I can pray for something and then I turn on the news and they say, oh, we don't know what happened. This is the situation changed. But one particular situation that I can give an example of how God has done a good job of equipping us and training us, like being isolated has not kept us from growing in Him. One time I was working from home and my daughter, then she was 15, she was working in the same room doing her school. I had woken up feeling really good that morning and everything was bright. Then all of a sudden around 12 noon, I started gasping for breath without any reason. My heart was skipping and jumping beats. I felt I was passing out and I felt like in 1 minute more, I was going to hit the floor and I was going to pass out. I felt my heart was being pulled and it was stopping and starting. My daughter saw what was going on in the spirit realm. She was 15 at the time. And she, without saying a word, without me asking her, I was still figuring out what was going on. She kind of like jumped from her desk and came to me and took authority in the name of Jesus. And she started commanding this entity to leave. At that time, I didn't know that I was under spiritual attack. I was still figuring out, why is my heart behaving like that? And then later on, when I had settled and come to and everything had gone back to normal, like in 10 minutes, I asked her, what was that about? What were you fighting? And she told me that she saw a warlock. He had walked in a home and he was standing over my work desk and he had a big knife and he was trying to cut off my head. I was feeling it physically while she was seeing it spiritually. So she stood up to this warlock, took authority in the name of Jesus, and was able to abort the mission and drive that demonic entity out of her home. This is not the first episode that the enemy has tried to take our lives, like my life, like that. And God has used my daughter to step in and intervene. But we've had situations like where we've had each other's back. And many times, like when we're praying, like we usually have family time of fasting and prayer. And Jesus has walked into our home many times and canceled the assignment of the enemy, equipped us, clothed us with different items, for the next assignment in our lives. And so like our spiritual life being isolated because we gave it to the Lord and we did not like misappropriate the time of isolation. The Lord has used it to draw us closer to Him, to equip us and to strengthen us for the work that He's now beginning to commission us into. To round up what I'm talking about today, it's the message began with, you are not, when God spoke to me and said, you're not alone. I want to speak to those people. This message may be for people who find themselves alone and isolated. Being alone may not be a really bad situation. Like from time to time, we see that God isolates people for a short season, for a purpose. And during that purpose, He teaches them to learn how to draw close to Him, and He teaches them how to be anchored in Him, and He equips them, and then He launches them out to equip others. So whenever you find yourself alone, just say, Lord, what are you trying to do in my life? Don't see it as a bad situation. See it as an opportunity for you to get closer to God. Hear the heartbeat of God. What does the Lord want you to do in this season? What is He trying? Whenever He isolated David. David spent, this is my next message, I'm working on it, but I can scratch on it a little bit here. Like David, before he became the King David that we know, he spent a lot of time alone tending his father's sheep. And during that time, he learned to worship the Lord. And during that time, he learned to trust the Lord. And that is when the Lord saw his heart. After training him and equipping him for years and years, He sent him to the battlefield and He equipped him to take out the biggest enemy of Israel, Goliath. So the time of isolation is not a time of throwing pity parties and crying and watching movies from one movie to another, But it is a time of building your relationship with the Lord. It is a time of seeking, of re-examining yourself. Where are you right now? And where does God want you to be? It is a time of building that communication line between you and the Lord so that you can hear His will and purpose for your life. I am going to stop here for today, but I want the people to know that being alone, if you give it to the Lord and if you make the most of it, can turn out to be the best time in your life. If you allow God to equip you, to train you, to mentor you, and if you yield yourself to Him through studying the Word, through worship, through reading His Word, through intercession, you'll be amazed by what He will make out of you. May God bless you.